So I love the fact that this article that I found said that positive emotions wear off quickly. In other words, when you get a new car, when you get a new shirt, when you get a new pair of earrings, right? When you have some Christmas, right? Have you ever seen, those of you guys who have maybe kids under 10, and you're so excited for Christmas, right? And you give them their gifts, and within an hour, they're already arguing. Have you guys had a Christmas like that yet? I remember being so frustrated at my kids because I was so excited about the positive emotions they were going to have with Christmas. And then they just seemed suddenly so ungrateful. Do you know what I'm saying? Have you guys experienced that? Or maybe you've experienced that? This research said that positive emotions wear off very quickly. But gratitude is actually appreciating. There's that word, appreciation. It's appreciating the value of something. So there's a difference between just having a positive emotion of, I'm so excited I got that video game. That's a positive emotion versus I have gratitude for the video game because it cost my parents money or it's valuable. I could not have bought it on my own. Like whatever that, it's the value of what's been given to you. So when you guys say you're thankful for TRICARE, right? You're basically saying there is value in TRICARE because there's, whether it's having a baby or if you have a special needs child, and every time you go to the doctor, you're just like, I'm so glad we're not having to pay for this out of pocket, right? You're seeing the value and it brings the gratitude up in you versus just feeling positive about the lifestyle. Do you guys see the difference? So it's shifting our perspective from just what's positive to actually seeing the value. That's what gratitude does. Okay. I love this next one. This is huge. Please write this next one down. Please, if you walk away with nothing else tonight, write down the next one. And it says, gratitude blocks toxic negative emotions. Research is backed up in research has shown that you cannot hold gratitude and resentment at the same time. I'm just going to throw this out there. Does that mean that we actually have the ability to resolve the resentment that we're experiencing with the choice to do something different with it? And that's one of the reasons why I love doing the Strength Finder with people, because when I have, whether I have a positivity or whether I have that restorative person that sees all the problems, the Strength Finder really helps you like yourself, however it is that you're built, right? Part of that gratitude can start with, you know what? I'm really grateful that I have the natural ability to see the problems around me and to want to fix them. Like I have to start there, right? I'm going to start with the fact that this very thing that wants to have me be in the pit and see all the problems is also the very thing that makes me very talented and motivates me to get things done. Right. And so being able to be grateful to go, all right, if this is my natural ability, then I'm also going to be grateful that I can bring myself out of this. And that one of the ways I'm going to solve the problem of feeling negative right now is to work on this gratitude journaling that we could try. Right. And so that's part of solving the problem, because that's what a restorative does. They see all the problems, but the awesome thing, not the negative thing. Okay, so that's huge. I want you guys to just process and think on that after the webinar, that whenever you find yourself in that place, we're going to process our negative feelings, and then we're going to use gratitude, right? Instead of just skipping over the surface as a way to transition ourselves out of it. I also love this next one, and I love the fact that they did not use the word resilience, right? They actually said grateful people are more stress resistant. So when we talk about fire resistant, it means that it's not likely to catch fire quickly, right? So when you talk about stress resistant, they're saying grateful people can recover from stress faster. They recover from adversity and even trauma. So they've actually done research to show that somebody can go through something traumatic and they can actually recover from it faster if they express that gratitude. So it's kind of that mind shift again from resentment or from stress, from adversity, and just go. It doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge the adversity. It doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge the pain and the difficulty. And it definitely doesn't mean that we forget it, right? Again, gratefulness does not mean that we just skip over and forget the things that are difficult. It just means that we're using a tool to help us move forward that has been proven to show it changes us and changes our heart, okay? And then this gets to this last one is also huge. It gets to that identity and purpose piece. So grateful people have a higher sense of self-worth. So this is huge too, especially if you are somebody that struggles with that identity and purpose. So you have more of a sense that someone is looking out for you and sees you. That's huge, because military spouses tend to not feel seen, right? I know, I don't know if you guys have felt this way since I'm in the middle of a pre deployment. I feel like I'm going through like all of this stress and emotion before he leaves. And it's a long deployment that we're facing. And I'm like looking out my window and I feel like the rest of the world just doesn't even know what we're going through. If you guys ever felt like that, your family members aren't even tracking it. Like I'm wondering if some of my family members even know that it's happening, right? And you're like, you don't see me. You don't understand what I'm going through, right? And we find ourselves just so like unseen. And so there's something about gratitude that makes you feel seen. When you guys say the village, I'm so thankful for the village, right? The spouses that are on this call right now, they see you, right? They get you. They understand what you're feeling, regardless of what stage of deployment or reintegration or life or whatever you're going through. And you, when you express the gratitude towards that, you're like, I feel seen and I feel understood. And I'm so grateful that I'm understood, right? So important when it comes to a place of self worth, because when you talk about identity and purpose and self worth, it's coming from a place of not knowing who you are, not knowing what brings you joy, and people and community definitely brings you joy. But it's also about recognizing the things that bring you joy and being grateful for that. And the more we practice the gratitude, the more we find those things that bring us joy, so we can actually do them more often, right? Music has always brought me joy. I grew up with music. I actually was a music major in college. And when I go through a season of not doing anything musically, I find myself kind of going downhill. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I actually like music. Why have I not been playing it? Have you guys ever had that moment where you're like, I forgot that I enjoyed that when I was in high school, right? And then you like put music on, or you do that art that maybe you used to do, or you do that thing that you, or you take, you do, you're into photography, whatever it is, and you do that thing again, you're like, ah, I didn't even realize I enjoy it. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this thing that really lights me up, right? Which, by the way, when I had the opportunity to, going back to the resentment and gratitude, when I had the opportunity to travel overseas, the one of the biggest aha moments for me, that I want to share with you guys is that, you know, when the guys are home, they're always in a training role. They're in a training season when they're home with us. And so what ends up happening, and we don't even realize it because that's the only time we see them, right? That's the only time we experience them is when they're home. But when they're home is when they're training for the real thing, right? When I went overseas and I got a chance to visit all the branches, so I got to go to Iraq, two places in Iraq, Afghanistan, two aircraft carriers on the Persian Gulf. So I got to visit the Marines and the Navy, and also Turkey, where I got to spend some time with the Air Force. And not to mention the Air Force that were like the crew that were flying us everywhere that were amazing. And so number one, I got to experience all the branches working together. And that's something we never as spouses get to see. Like we only get to see like our group, right? You don't get to see when they go over there and they're working with all the branches. And everybody is kind of this integrated puzzle that comes together. I got to see this thing that they call the coalition. Like that's a word people use all the time. I'm like, what actually is a coalition, right? When you walk into a DFAC in Iraq and Baghdad and you see a soldier from Spain and France and Italy, and they're all wearing all the different uniforms, and you suddenly realize the whole, like, it feels like the whole world is working on this together. It's not just us, right? You see a bigger picture. But even bigger than all of that, everywhere I went, I saw a spark in these service members' eyes that I never saw at home. And I don't want that to mean, I don't want that to cause you frustration or more resentment. It doesn't mean that they don't enjoy being at home. It's just, but there was a spark in their eye because they were getting to do the thing that they trained to do. Like they were just excited to do the thing that brought them joy. And it was the one thing that made it, if you want to say worth it, if they have to be away from us, then at least they're doing something that they enjoy and they feel good at, right? And so I think we need to bring that a little bit more into our life. We need to find that thing that brings that spark back into our life, the thing that brings you joy, that if you're going to be apart, especially, even if you have to go through a reintegration that's really hard, that you have something that brings you joy so that you don't neglect having the spark in your eye too, because you are definitely worth that. Does everybody hear me on that?